The housing market is showing further signs of recovery thanks to a surge in the number of people who are borrowing and taking out bigger mortgages. Joining me now is Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic. Kevin, thanks so much for your time. What's behind this surge?
Oh, look, we've been reporting for some time now in the auction results that we're seeing an increase in clearance rates, and whilst that's only one indicator of the market, it is a very sort of immediate barometer of market conditions. Last week we reported the increase in house prices in Sydney and Melbourne at 1.6% and 1.4% for the month respectively, and the data that we're now looking at has come out from the ABS this week. And it's showing that there is a significant increase in mortgage demand, which is consistent with those other indicators.
Yeah, what are the better markets? It's always Sydney and Melbourne who seem to lead the pack. Is that the case now?
Oh, look, it certainly is. I mean, we've seen both Sydney and Melbourne sort of moving ahead more strongly than the other markets, and noticeably in Sydney in particular, it's actually some of the higher value houses that are selling particularly well. We're still waiting in both capital cities and, in fact, across the country for a spring increase in listings. It looks like it might be on the way, but there's no indication yet of a surge of listings.
What's flowing through? Because there's a first home buyer lending that's up 20% in July to $3.7 billion. Is this in part to do with tax relief from the federal government?
Well, look, the entire market confidence is built around factors which have emerged since the federal election. And for first-time home buyers, I think there's a couple of things at stake. The government announced a first-time home buyers scheme for 10,000 first-time home buyers in January. But I would imagine if first-time home buyers are looking at the market now and seeing signs of price increases, they'll be weighing up whether to move now or to hold off for any incentive schemes.
There's always some aberrations in markets. Tasmania is so fascinating. Hobart in particular, there's a big Airbnb market there, big tourism market. Are we seeing that in any other states or cities?
Well, look, I mean, Hobart, you're right, the Airbnb, and I'm certainly aware of people who've moved down there because the value they get for their house on the mainland actually buys them a much larger house for retirement down there. Look, I mean, obviously I'm speaking from Adelaide, and our market has actually been really quite stable for a long time, while Sydney and Melbourne we're experiencing some quite big decreases over an 18-month period. Adelaide was just continuing on a fairly flat but stable trajectory, which did prove attractive to some interstate investors.
OK, we'll keep a very close eye on the market then. Appreciate your time this morning. Good news for mortgage holders, perhaps not so much for those getting into the market this morning.